change. One of the toughest things to do. Someone said change isn't change until you change. But changing seemingly is hard. Guess what? It's about to become a lot easier. Dr. Joe is about to show you how you can make lifelong change. That's right, changes that will last the rest of your life and bring you the benefits you've been wanting for so long. Get ready. Dr. Joe Dispenza is here right now to help you have that change.
So the fundamental question is if I want to change my life, then that means that I have to change, or nothing changes in my life until I change, right? So the person who's done all these treatments and still faced with a health condition, this is just an example, all of a sudden says, there's got to be another way. There's got to be something else. And so knowledge, information, when we learn knowledge, when we learn information, we make new connections in our brain. That's what learning is. We're forging synaptic connections. But that philosophical, theoretical, intellectual information is void of experience. Someone who takes that knowledge and applies it and personalizes, demonstrates it, initiates that knowledge, is now interested in the truth of the experience of that information. So the person then who becomes conscious that they could actually heal themselves by changing the way they think, the way they act, the way they feel. If I truly go into the experiment of no longer thinking the same way, no longer acting the same way, no longer feeling the same way, and I start thinking about what thoughts I do want to fire and wire in my brain, and if I do it with intention and attention, I'll begin to install neurological hardware. Keep doing it, and it becomes like a software program. It becomes a new voice in your head that goes from I can't to I can. No magic there. If you said, how would greatness live today? What would love look like today? What would be a greater expression of myself in the things that I do? Turns out if you close your eyes and you rehearse in your mind how you're going to be in any aspect of your day, if you're truly present, the brain doesn't know the difference between the inward experience of what you're imagining and the outer real experience. The brain looks like you've already done it. The brain looks like it's already experienced it. Now, do that enough times, the hardware becomes a software program and you start behaving like a different person.
Super athletes do this all
This
the
is
time.
musicians, athletes, dancers, everybody who's good at something is always rehearsing in their mind. That rehearsal is just as important as the physical demonstration. It's priming the brain because the brain is a record of the past. Now you're actually making it a map to the future. You're installing circuits to use. If you said, God, I lived my whole life in guilt. I didn't know it was guilt, in shame or unworthiness, and self-doubt, insecurity, fear. And all of a sudden, you're looking at that emotion and you understand that emotion is actually down-regulating genes and creating disease. You figured that out, you read about it, it makes sense. Then all of the hatred, all the anger, all the bitterness you have to someone or something in your past is keeping you connected to the past. So you'd say, can I teach my body emotionally what a new future could feel like before it happens? Not waiting for your wealth to feel abundance, or waiting for your relationship to feel love, or waiting for your healing to feel gratitude. That's the old model of reality of cause and effect. This is about causing an effect. Turns out if you can elevate your emotional state and you can sustain that emotional state, your body's so objective that it doesn't know the difference between a real life experience that's creating that emotion and that emotion that you're creating by thought alone. Your body's actually believing it's living in a new reality, a new environment. Now, the environment signals the gene. The end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion. That person is actually signaling genes ahead of the environment. Genes make proteins, and proteins are responsible for the structure and function of the body. The expression of proteins is the expression of life. Okay, every day the person practices going from the old self to the new self. This is what's happening in the world right now. As they start to change, and they start unfiring and unwiring, and they stop conditioning the body emotionally to the past and practice this, they emerge as a new personality. They become somebody else, and like magic, The disease exists in the old person, and there's somebody else. Now, here's where consciousness comes in. That person comes to a workshop, and they stand on the stage in front of 1,500 people, and they tell their story. And everybody in that audience is leaning in. Why? Because they're looking at truth. They're looking at the example.
Someone who just got healed from a chronic...
I'm talking about stage 4 cancers. I'm talking about Parkinson's disease. I'm talking about rare genetic disorders. And now the person in the audience is becoming conscious of a possibility that they were once unconscious to. And when they see that's possible, it's a 4-minute mile. I mean, 4-minute mile, nobody thought anybody could break a mile in under 4 minutes. They said it was biologically and physiologically impossible. 1,400 people have done it already. So this is the 4-minute mile. Someone's piercing through a limitation, a level of unconsciousness. And now that's a footprint in the quantum field. But in 3-dimensional reality, you're looking at that person and they look no different than anybody else. And the person says, if that person can do it, I can do it as well. Now, all of a sudden, what's emerging in the world now because of information is teaching people that there are other possibilities that they were unconscious to. And you don't need an authority any longer. You don't need a priest. You don't need a governor. You don't need a teacher. You don't need a doctor to gain information any longer. Information is available, but the question is, what will you do with it? We could say then, if you're not your body, if you're not anything you're identifying with in your environment, and you're not thinking about time, well, who are you? Your consciousness. You're aware of nothing. You're in this void, right? In this vacuum. Now, that realm that you pass into is fertile, as I said, with frequency, with information. Every thought has a frequency there. In this realm called time-space, it's inverse to space-time. The rules are completely different. There's nothing physical. It's frequency. It's energy. It's vibration. It's thought. It's consciousness. It's information. And connection. Everything is connected. There's no separation. It's unity. It's wholeness. It's oneness. Everything's connected to everything else. Now you got to change the way you think when you get to this place. So now, in time space, there's an infinite amount of time. Instead of space being eternal, time is eternal. So there's one infinite present moment, one eternal now. Okay, now let's think about that. If you had all the time in the world to get things done, how many things could you get done? Infinite.
Imagination.
Yeah, equal to your imagination. Well, that's the quantum. There's infinite possibilities everything all the time, right? So in the realm of space-time, we move through space from one point to another, and if we want to get there sooner, we move faster. We drive faster, we run faster, we do things faster. If we want to get there,
work harder too.
You work harder, right? You got to work hard. You got to fight for it, right? In this realm, there's nowhere to go. There's no space, so you're connected to everything. So here's the dichotomy. The way that we change our movement through time space is to change the thought or the frequency. And every past, present, and future possibility is all existing in the present moment. And that's a big one for people to wrap their mind around. So there are dimensions. We can move through times. We can travel through times, travel in a mystical moment to a childhood memory that defined you, and you can see yourself as your adult self and have compassion for that child and get the understanding that that child didn't have at that time, and it'll change your biology in a second. The person who...
Because you're connected to that past.
You are that past. You are it, but you're not seeing it as the 7-year-old child. You're seeing it as an integrated adult called Emilio saying, God, I love that kid. That's not the truth. He just saw it that way. It wasn't his fault. He wasn't responsible for that. Oh my God. And now, somehow the memory is replaced from a greater level of consciousness. The person who has been abused physically, sexually, emotionally, who has suicidal tendencies, severe depression, anxiety and panic attacks, endometriosis, and weird hormonal things, all because of molestation and abuse in the past. In the present moment, they can see their past from a greater level of consciousness and have such a moment of pure love that they don't want to change anything in their past. They think it's perfect for them now because it brought them to that moment of ecstasy, that moment of freedom.
Thanks for listening and watching. Share this video with someone you care about. Help us inspire 1 million people to get past their give-up point and win with these quotes and stories of inspiration. Click the like and subscribe buttons. Also click the bell icon so you are notified of new content. Consider becoming a Patreon. Your donation monthly can help us inspire millions of people around the world. Link is below in the description. Now, here are a few more videos that will definitely inspire you to win.